Okay. I'm very excited to be here talking about a program that is already making a difference in our community, that is democratizing our energy supply, ensuring that the City of Boston is providing a vetted, trusted, green option for residents as we are working to take every possible step towards climate justice, and, as we are sharing today, is the more affordable option for all of our residents as we're headed into winter as well. So first, I want to thank Chief Mariama White-Hammond, Sam Montagna from Green Roots, Sophie Cash from the Boston Climate Action Network, and all of the advocates whom you will hear from shortly, and all the advocates who are part of this coalition and have been working so hard to ensure that CCE, or Community Choice Energy, is a choice that is available to all Boston residents. Earlier this week, I discussed public safety measures that we are taking to prepare Boston for winter storms, and we did so in front of our 40,000-pound salt pile. Today we are in a treasured community space to speak about another challenge that residents must prepare for as the weather gets colder. As winter approaches, we're going to see a significant rise in energy prices. Eversource recently announced that their new electricity rates are at a 15-year high, and additionally, other third-party electric supply companies who use predatory tactics have targeted our residents over a number of years, promising lower electricity prices that increase significantly after a few months. All that together means that, particularly in communities of color, particularly for residents who speak languages other than English, the approach of winter is a time when the household bills go up as well. If your electricity contract is one that does not provide the most cost savings and is not the most affordable one available. In neighborhoods like Fields Corner, where we are today at Viet Aid, 42% of low-income residents are enrolled in third-party electricity suppliers. These tactics of targeting people of color and residents speaking languages other than English unnecessarily cost our residents hundreds of dollars more on electricity and deepen issues like food and energy insecurity. But as mentioned earlier, thanks to the work of a coalition of advocates and experts and community leaders over a number of years, the City of Boston has a solution available. Community Choice Electricity, or CCE, is our municipal aggregation program that offers lower energy prices than Eversource and many third-party suppliers. Through this program, the City of Boston is working on behalf of all residents to negotiate better energy prices that include more local renewable electricity as part of that supply. Beginning January 1st of this next year, all CCE rates will be cheaper than Eversource's basic service rates for a period of at least 6 months. That means with these new rates, you could be on a 100% local renewable electricity plan from sources like solar or wind and be paying less than Eversource's basic service. This is a program that is very near and dear to my heart as well. 4 years ago, City Councilor Matt O'Malley and I drafted legislation authorizing the City of Boston to adopt CCE, and I've been proud to work closely with advocates and our leaders gathered here today across the city to get this done and implemented. The legislation was unanimously approved by the City Council then, and today Boston's CCE program is the largest green municipal aggregation program in the Commonwealth. Not only is this a game changer for our residents, but it puts us on a path to become a 100% renewable electricity city, a Green New Deal city. Today's announcement marks an important milestone for the program, with all 3 of the CCE rate plans costing less than Eversource's basic services prices and utilizing more local renewable energy sources. This reinforces our administration's commitment to making Boston a Green New Deal city that is affordable, accessible, and sustainable for all residents, and it ensures that our residents and small businesses can pay lower rates and choose how we power our communities. It is a critical part of our strategy for energy democracy. Fortunately, many of our residents are already on CCE because this is the City of Boston's default energy supplier. But for those who opted out upon the initial rollout of CCE earlier in this year, or those who are enrolled in a third-party supplier, we encourage you to enroll in CCE and opt in as soon as possible to avoid these winter price hikes. This is a step not just to lower your rates, but to invest in protecting our environment and investing in our shared future. So now I'm honored to turn it over to Boston's Chief of Energy, Environment, and Open Space, Reverend Mariama White-Hammond.
Thank you, Mayor Wu. I want to just take a moment. I wear this in remembrance of Bell Hooks, who passed today, legendary intellectual and one who raised the notion that love is a revolutionary act. And so we remember her as she passes and crosses over to the other side. So the reality is that winter is coming, Boston, and that means higher electricity prices, as Mayor Wu alluded to. And we're really glad I was part of the original task force of residents looking at this program and really trying to design it. And it was an amazing process working with Councilor Wu, who is now our mayor, and a whole host of folks that said, how do we balance affordability and economic justice with climate justice? And so I want to specifically focus on those of you who say, oh my goodness, I hear this sounds great, what should I do? So there are three options. Your first option is you're already enrolled in community choice energy. Excellent. If you didn't do anything, you're not part of with a competitive electric supplier, you didn't opt out, then it's likely that you are already enrolled, and the city is already working to make sure that you have renewable and affordable energy. There are three different levels. Our most basic level is called basic, is 18%, and you're getting the same amount of renewables as Eversource, but at a cheaper price. 28% is the default, and so you're getting more renewables than you would if you were in Eversource. And then there's 100% renewables, which I opted up today. I'm really excited to be part of that, and that means that 100% of the supply comes from renewable energy. If you're already in, maybe today you're asking yourself, well, if I'm at a lower rate and I would have to pay more, maybe I'm thinking, I want to opt up. And so I encourage you, if you, like me, looked at it and said, if I could have 100% renewables for cheaper than what it would cost if I was on basic, why would I stay in a higher price plan rather than moving to something that's more affordable and is 100%? The second is, if your supplier is Eversource, you will be paying 15 cents per kilowatt hour. And that means that you could move to 100% renewables for only 13 cents per kilowatt hour. The average Eversource basic service residential customer will spend $27 per month more under these new rates. I don't know about you, but $27 is worth saving. And so we want to invite you to go to boston.gov/community-choice-electricity. boston.gov/community-choice-electricity. You can also Google it under CCE Boston, and I checked, it'll take you to the website. So if you can't remember that, then just Google City of Boston, CCE, and it will also take you to the website. The last is really important. If your supplier is a competitive electric supplier, you could be at risk of spending 3 times as much as if you were on community choice energy. This is really important to me because competitive electric suppliers knocked on my door, not knowing that I was an energy advocate. Young woman, and I'm sure she was just telling whatever her boss told her to say. But she said a series of things that I knew not to be true. She told me that if I opted in right now, that I could save hundreds of dollars on my electric bill. And when I asked her to put it in writing, there was a lot of, oh, I don't have that. I said, you don't even have a brochure. Give it to me in writing. Show me what it is. But I know that she used that same tactic on my neighbors, and I'm sure that many of them also gave in. I had members of my congregation calling me saying, hey, there's this person at my door. Because they knew I worked on energy issues, they double-checked with me, and in many instances, they were also being told the same lies. So our push to you today is if you are with a competitive electric supplier, and they may have misled you, the research by the AG's office shows that they have specifically targeted low-income folks, immigrants, our elders, and people of color, and specifically the neighborhoods of Dorchester, right here where we are, Roxbury, Mattapan, East Boston, and Hyde Park. Any place you live in the city, I want you to pay attention, but if you live in those 5 neighborhoods, we really want you to take a moment to look, because you may be drastically overpaying. And so we are encouraging you to look at your bill. You can feel free to reach out to us, but you also can look at enrolling in CCE. And if you want to call the Environment Department, we will walk you through it. My staff are like, oh my gosh, we're going to get all these calls. We're also going to make sure that 311 has some of this information so you can always reach out to them. But we want to help you. We don't want residents overpaying when they could have cheaper and cleaner energy in their portfolio. So with that, I hope that's giving you just a little bit more information. Feel free again to go to boston.gov/community-choice-electricity. And now I want to pass it over to Sam Montaña, the Director of Organizing for Green Roots, one of the organizations that was part of helping to put this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Wu, Reverend Dr. Mariama White-Hammond, and all the advocates here today. My name is Sam Montaño. I work at Green Roots, which does environmental justice work in Chelsea and East Boston. This is a particularly, I can take this off, important issue in neighborhoods like East Boston, where 40% of low-income residents are getting their electricity from a third-party electric supplier. East Boston, as many of us know, is experiencing several changes that are related to environmental justice, and I want to stress that environmental justice is for communities that have traditionally been oppressed, low-income folks, folks of color, folks who are recent immigrants, folks whose first language is not English, which is a large population of East Boston still. And for this reason, I am incredibly grateful to be here today with Mayor Wu's leadership in creating community choice electricity, helping our residents to get out of already challenging situations. For instance, Noemi, who works with me, who's over there, said that her electricity bill is over $100, some months in the winter, probably higher. This is an opportunity for her to have an electric payment that's more in reach. And our community members, I want to encourage you to enroll in the city's Community Choice Electricity Program as soon as possible so you can avoid the significant increases that will come to your electricity bill this winter. Thank you for having me, and I continue to hope that we see this as an economic, environmental, and racial equity issue that we can use to benefit all of the communities in Boston. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sophie Cash. I'm the new advocacy director at the Boston Climate Action Network, so the new Andy Wells-Bean, if you worked with him. So I'm really excited to working with all of you here. Thank you so much to Mayor Wu, Reverend Mariama White-Hammond, Green Roots, and everyone who really made this happen. BCAN started working on community choice energy in 2016, so now at the close of 2021. This is a really exciting development and a significant step forward for energy justice and climate justice in our city. Electricity, as you've all heard, is usually created by fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are what's fueling the climate crisis, and electricity suppliers and climate change also are disproportionately harming already vulnerable frontline communities. So CCE is an incredible opportunity for residents to use their buying power to support local clean electricity, make politicians more accountable to equitable energy generation, and now the CCE renewable option is even cheaper than any Eversource rate. So it's now every single resident can be part of the move to renewable electricity at a lower and more stable rate than any regular plan. So this is an enormous part of the monumental shift that we need as a society, as a city, and it's an essential step towards economic, energy, and climate justice. Very, very essential in this moment towards the winter and as we move forward towards a Green New Deal future. So again, from BCAN, we'd want to acknowledge Mayor Wu, Councilor O'Malley, members of the Green Justice Coalition, and all the other partners who helped make CCE happen and this monumental change towards a greener future. Thanks so much.
Questions?
Mayor Wu, could I ask you about the Omicron variant popping up, and how concerned are you about that in Boston? And also, apparently, there's going to be some booster shots available at Fenway Park.
That's right. I was going to say, okay, we'll open it all the way up. You know, we knew this moment was going to happen. The virus, just like so many of our other most pressing issues, doesn't respect municipal boundaries or the boundaries of each state. And so it was only a matter of time before the new variants make their way here to our global metropolitan city as well. This is why it is so urgent and important for each one of us to get vaccinated, get boosted, ensure that our kids are vaccinated. The city is working very hard. I was just at, I think, 3 separate meetings with our Boston Public Health Commission Director, Basola Ojukutu, today already about how we are making more clinics available, more walk-in clinics available for booster appointments and vaccination appointments. As we head into the winter months, we are in the midst of a surge. I met with some of our healthcare institution leaders earlier today as well, and this is front and center on all of our plates, ensuring that every single resident has access to the testing, vaccination, and protections across our community. And we are working hard on the policy side to move quickly on policies as well. Our COVID-19 advisory group that has been convened by the City of Boston has met a few times now, and we are looking to ensure that Boston continues to protect our residents and do so with a focus on equity.
Is the Fenway Park site going to be a big boost, so to speak?
Absolutely. We know that when there are opportunities for people to find the time, find a convenient location, have a walk-in experience, it's a lot easier for families that are juggling multiple different obligations. Our City Hall site, when we opened up City Hall as a full, open to the public, free walk-in clinic, we saw nearly 400 people come in that day, and significant waits because there was so much interest and so much demand for booster shots and vaccinations in a walk-in way. Yeah, okay, so first, sorry, Karen, for sure. Does anyone have questions for me or any of the advocates on CCE in particular? In case I don't want everyone else and you can just stand up here to...
You covered it very well.
Okay, all right, please.
Explain what will be happening by January 12th.
The team that we have empowered at the City of Boston to address the humanitarian crisis at Mass Ave and Melia Cass Boulevard has a clear plan that we have been working for weeks to implement, and that will truly start in terms of outreach tomorrow. Between tomorrow and January 12th, we will be vigorously connecting every single one of the residents living in tents at Mass Ave and Melia Cass Boulevard to low-threshold supportive beds across the city and region, as well as the chance to seek treatment and services in those locations as well. By January 12th, as people are connected to services, connected to transitional housing, the tents will be taken away once folks are connected, and therefore after January 12th there will not be any tents returning to that area.
Identifying the solution needed, the low threshold for pets, what is that and why is it so important?
I want to thank the work of so many of our public health outreach workers and the Boston Public Health Commission's team, because for days, weeks, months, they have been out almost 24 hours a day, engaging with folks who are living in our encampment area there, understanding what everyone's needs are, building relationships, building trust. And so just recently we were able to survey all of the residents of the area and understand the demographics of folks who are seeking treatment and housing, and understand what the needs are that are missing right now. The vast, vast majority of people currently at Mass and Cass do not want to be at Mass and Cass. And if there were appropriate, low-threshold, supportive housing available, would be connected to those opportunities and leave Mass and Cass. And so that is what we've been working quickly to do. This is about taking a bold, transformational approach, not to put a Band-Aid over a situation, but to get at underlying causes, connect people with the housing and treatment that they need so that we can really transform this whole area and ensure that everyone, neighbors, stakeholders, business owners, patients seeking treatment, all are connected to supports.
One last question on this, if you don't mind. If people don't leave the tents by January 12th, will they be arrested?
We are working daily and multiple times a day to pursue and really vigorously engage in outreach with every single person who is living in a tent right now at Mass and Cass to ensure that the options are clear and that everyone is connected to safe, supportive, low-threshold housing. Again, from the conversations that our team has been having on the ground, the vast majority of people are eager to find housing that meets their needs, and that's what we have worked very hard to provide, and that will keep coming online in the next couple weeks. As of January 12th, from now until then, we'll be engaging in those conversations, and after that date, there will not be tents allowed to come back to that area.
Why do you think this plan will work now, based on what you laid out today? If you don't mind, just because I also heard some of the things in English and
Sure. The issue of the opiate crisis and homelessness is certainly bigger than one city, bigger than one region, but it is time that we treat this as a citywide situation rather than one particular intersection that we need to find a way to move things out of. This gets at root causes and truly will provide what those individuals living in the encampments have been telling us that they need, which is housing that can fit with someone who is actively living with substance use and supports to help address mental health challenges as well. And so we have, I want to also make clear that it's not as if from now until January 12th, there are only 2 dates that matter, and these are the 2 dates that things will be happening. This is an ongoing conversation and process, and for the last few weeks and months, residents of that area have been connected to housing and transferred to housing in the dozens and dozens of situations. And so we're going to continue that approach, but today we are announcing that there's a date by which we truly believe we will have enough housing established and online across the city to meet everyone's needs and be able to connect every person to those locations so that we can keep that area clear. Entonces, en el crisis, la intersección de Mass Ave y Melnicas Boulevard es una crisis de desamparo, de salud mental y también el crisis opioideos. Entonces, no podemos anticipar que la misma acción sin cambios puede avanzar, puede cerrar las brechas en nuestras comunidades. Tomamos un plan que incluye todos los servicios que los residentes necesitan, servicios de salud mental, de vivienda, sin barreras, y también las conexiones con los expertos de salud, servicios médicos también. Entonces, la fecha del 12 de enero es la fecha donde a este momento el punto puede conectar cada residente de esa área a las viviendas y oportunidades que nuestro equipo ha creado. Entonces, en ese momento será una situación muy diferente con las transformaciones que necesitan nuestros residentes y comunidades en cada barrio de Boston.
What would you say to the small businesses and also to the neighbors in the area who have complained of the conditions there? For months, I talked to someone this morning who said, that the conditions have not changed despite promises that past and present politicians have made. So I guess what would you say to them, and what specific steps will you take to improve conditions for them?
This is a hard situation that we are in, and I am so grateful to our residents who have continued to be part of these conversations despite years of meetings and frustration with feeling like we have been putting Band-Aids over their day-to-day reality. I have sat with our residents and small business owners. I have walked the area countless times, and I am as eager and as frustrated with an approach that would just cause everything to cycle back around again in a few weeks and months. And so we are committing and moving forward with a plan that will change the underlying situation. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye to systems that have failed. When people are living in tents without running water, without heat, in the middle of winter, in unsanitary living conditions, this is a failure of so many of our systems that is, again, bigger than one city, but a place where Boston is stepping up, and we'll be putting in the resources to ensure that people have services, have housing, and also have investments in their neighborhoods and on their streets to ensure that we are rebuilding community.
Is there more you can say about those investments now? Like what types of investments?
Yeah, so after the area is clear, the priority of the city and the administration will be to continue working and walking alongside neighborhood advocates, small businesses, and community leaders from a public works perspective to fix up our streets, right? There are many, many places where the sidewalks are broken, where we feel that this has been an area that looks and seems neglected from a public services point of view. And so we're going to work closely with the newly established BID as well, the Business Improvement District, to put some targeted resources to supporting our small businesses, beautification of our streets and community, so that everyone can enjoy this area. Those returning to the area to seek treatment and care at Boston Medical Center and in the surrounding area, residents and neighbors, kids who go to school nearby, and so many of our visitors to the Boston area. This should reflect the best of what Boston is able to offer, and that's what we're aiming for with this plan.
How was your trip to Washington, D.C., and what did you take away from it? It looked like you were very engaged.
It was quick, but very productive. I had a wonderful day visiting with 9 other newly elected mayors, most of whom were enjoying a luxurious transition, and so not everyone had jumped in right away. But we had the chance to meet with several cabinet secretaries, Secretary Walsh, of course, Secretary Fudge on housing of HUD, as well as Secretary Buttigieg of the Transportation Cabinet, to really discuss Boston's needs and the opportunities that the recovery funds and legislative packages will present. It was my first time getting to set foot in the Oval Office as well, and President Biden took us through and shared his commitment to making sure that cities are empowered in this recovery. He certainly has a fond spot for Boston, and I shared our commitment across the entire city to be a leading light for how an equitable, just, and sustainable recovery can really look, feel, and make a difference in our residents' lives.
Your earlier point about the virus not respecting boundaries, not respecting borders, a group of advocates, experts, state legislators sent a letter to the Baker administration today calling for some expanded measures to try and fight against the virus that includes a statewide mask mandate. Where do you stand on that? Do you feel like the state is keeping pace with where we stand right now with COVID and keeping pace with, as you're talking about, the fact that the virus does not respect boundaries?
The data and the case counts are rising, and it is worrisome to see new variants continuing to develop. Boston has a mask mandate in place, and we will continue to uphold that as the numbers are not getting better. We're also in close conversations with our regional partners to discuss ways in which our cities can collaborate and ensure we're all taking action together.
Are you getting enough guidance from the state right now? Do you feel like they're taking enough of a lead?
Sorry, can you say the first part again?
Sorry. Do you feel like you're getting enough guidance from the state right now? Do you feel like they're taking enough of a lead?
We're lucky in Boston to be home to a host of the world's most respected healthcare institutions, and the Boston Public Health Commission, which is a gem of resources and expertise. And so we are doing our part at the city level to ensure we are moving forward with protections for city workers, for students, for visitors, for those moving to indoor activities with our mask mandate. And we will continue to partner with the state. They recently announced the a contract and the availability of tens of thousands of rapid tests, which is a huge step forward and a great benefit to local municipalities. And so we'll continue to partner with the state where we can partner, and we'll continue to move forward without the state where we need to do that too.
With hospitalizations up, has there been any talk about maybe reopening the field hospital at the Convention and Exhibition Center?
You know, this actually did come up in the conversation just this morning with our hospital heads and leaders of many of our healthcare institutions in Boston. They shared that we are all concerned about the numbers that we're seeing. But the concern here is less about a lack of facilities or beds and more about a challenge when it comes to staffing the beds that are in Boston. Our healthcare workers and first responders are burned out. They have been working this pandemic for now 2 years plus, and I am incredibly grateful for all of their efforts and know that we need to be providing more support for those who wish to join this industry, for those who are in this industry and have seen just about every unexpected situation. We need to ensure we're providing resources and helping to address staffing challenges and those first responders who need supports. We are, one conversation item that came up again and again and that I hear from every corner in Boston is that whenever we talk about hospitalizations, how do I say this? The numbers that we see in terms of people who are having to go to the hospital almost line up completely with those who are not vaccinated, right? It is such a disproportionate percentage of residents who have not been vaccinated who are needing to go to the hospital for treatment, whether it is COVID related or the flu or something else. Right? We are now starting to see COVID as secondary or sort of overlapping condition with other medical conditions, and COVID worsens that experience. We need everyone to get vaccinated. That affects every part of our healthcare response, and from the city's part, we're going to work to take down every possible barrier with walk-in clinics, with support at our school buildings and through our community health centers. This is the single most important thing we can do to ensure that Boston can stay safe and healthy through the winter.
Speaking of which, you're guiding BPS students, parents, nurses, staff are gathering, saying they're stressed out about contact tracing, networking, pool testing, etc. Anything the city can do to help these school districts and these parents that work?
Yes, we must do better when it comes to ensuring that our schools are fully protected and safe. The Boston Public Health Commission has recently sent over a full-time staff member to focus on supporting our schools with testing and COVID protections. We need to do better when it comes to data and reporting. I have heard from many families that when there is a notification of a COVID case, often there's a lag by the time that it gets to families, and so we need to be tightening all of those mechanisms of communication and putting more resources to supporting testing and vaccination right on site.
Mayor, can you just quickly clarify on the roundhouse proposal? How exactly might that work? Who owns the building now? Okay. How many people could go in there, and how would you ease the concerns of local businesses?
Yep. The Roundhouse Hotel, which is located in the South End, Lower Roxbury area, is one of several sites that is in our plan to ensure that we have beds available for individuals needing housing and supports. At this particular location, the arrangement being proposed is that Boston Medical Center would lease the building and provide both an immediate, very intensive medical support system on the ground floor, as well as housing that is for residents who have been stabilized in the floors above, transitional housing above. It can fit up to 60, we are looking at that location for up to 60 transitional housing beds. And I'll just say that, and for a temporary basis.
So for the business owners in that area, it would be a temporary situation.
That's right, but I just want to emphasize as well, this is truly about putting a citywide plan in place so that we will not have unsafe encampments in that area at Mass and Cass. And so over the next couple of weeks, we will start to see more and more of our residents connected to transitional housing as it comes online with the weeks of work that have been put in, and we will already begin to see and feel a difference.
I meant to ask you, do you have any details on the booster site at Fenway, how long it's going to be running, how many people?
I do not, but Kelly, we can get those? Okay, we'll follow up with that. Great. Thank you, everyone.